Good afternoon, everyone. It's Wednesday at 12:15. We continue with the Orlando Homeowner Show. And today, as always, one of my favorite episodes because the market is so volatile and it's changing every day and we don't know when it's going to change. A lot of opinions out here. There's going to be a bubble or sell now but buy later because just wait for the crash. And frankly, Economics 101 says I'm not seeing it. So we've got a great show today talking about the important things you need to look at as a savvy home owner, buyer or seller, to navigate and to win in this market. We'll be right back. All right, and welcome Zahide and Debbie to the Orlando Homeowner Show. I'm going to zoom us in a little bit there. Oh, I cut you off. I can't zoom you in now. Can you get close?
I can move over.
All right, we're going to get close there. So we are live on Facebook and on YouTube. We have sometimes people will chime in. So if you're watching this live, you have any specific questions, please ask it to one of the three of us because we're going to spend, like we do every third Wednesday, talking about the market. So before we do that, just a quick rundown of who we've got on the show with us today. Ms. Zahide Wallace is the team leader of the brokerage that I'm a part of, the Keller Williams Oviedo Advantage. She's also been selling houses in Central Florida for, you said, your 11th year now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a team that still operates out of the Lake Nona location. You're running this location. So I think this makes you qualified to talk about what the heck is going on in this market. Thanks for jumping on.
A little bit, yeah.
And then Debbie Parrish is been a great friend of mine, and I've known her for many years. She's been selling houses and on the cusp of her 30th anniversary of selling homes in Central Florida, which is pretty cool. 1992, if memory serves, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love it. So what I love about having you both on here is because I've been doing this for 11 years now as well, we have seen what the other market looked like. And the market that we're in right now is unique. And I'm not sure we've ever seen a market like we're in right now. Although it might feel that way in which the rapidness of price increases, because we have seen price increases like this. Debbie, talk to me about, or Zahide as well, but Debbie, you were actively involved in 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yes.
Because that's kind of the last time the market was out of control and then all of a sudden got weird. What's the same and what's different?
Okay, what's the same was great listings in great areas, got multiple offers. That's the same. The difference is they didn't get 20 or 30 of them. Okay. They were getting maybe 3. That's the biggest difference. Mm-hmm. Prices were going up. And then, as we have now, right, we did have appraisal issues because the appraisers were towing the line more so, if you will.
Yep.
Today, in those days, we didn't have time on market adjustments like we do today to help us in our favor.
Okay.
But yeah, so those were the similarities.
So layman's terms, time and market adjustments, you're talking about essentially how for the last 10 years, we have increased price point by over 120%, which then averages 12% a year or 1% a month. Pretty much like clockwork now. I'm talking with the past client yesterday. He bought his house in 2018 for 180. Without even looking up his house, it was like 180 times 1.36, or excuse me, in 2018, times 1.36 for 36% growth. Came back to 240, and he made me repeat myself. I was like, yeah, 36% in 3 years. Let's just double check that real quick. And sure enough, comps were 235 to 250.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the time adjustment says if you want your homemade estimate, we'll call it a ustimate, just take 1% on whatever you've done and whenever you bought it, and that's going to be a pretty accurate number. So what's different then? You mentioned multiple offers. Is this like that time in your opinion, Debbie? Are we going to expect 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11 again?
No.
Why?
I don't, because in those days we had a lot more inventory. Today you have days. In those days we had months of inventory, and we did.
Yeah.
Today, when you're talking about days worth of inventory, impossible.
Right.
We have more people moving into Florida today than we did back in 2005, 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all stats you can find online,
Yeah.
not just coming from someone's mouth.
And you know what? I actually have a different perspective, because in that market, 2003, 4, 5, I was a buyer for the first time during
Perfect.
that time. Yeah. And so I can speak to what is different based from the buyer perspective and what I know now. And so what I can share is that at that time, believe it or not, I actually bought a for sale by owner. And it was actually, in hindsight, that's not something I should have done. I did have a decent inspector, thank God. However, and I'm not gonna talk about all the bad things that happened, but there are things that, had I had a real estate agent that I loved and trust on my side, I probably would not have purchased the house that I bought at that time. But because the market was so crazy, it's like, okay, we've got to go get it, and we've got to go do all of these things really fast. And we made decisions that we probably would not have made had we had somebody consulting us at the time. So, yeah.
The lesson I'm hearing there to the consumers out there is, although we are in a feeding frenzy, I feel like we're in we're swimming in the Florida Keys and someone just chummed the water and there's fish like
That's a
this
pretty good
everywhere,
analogy right there.
right? Because we've got a listing going live tomorrow and we'll call that chum, and the open house is going to be like this with people coming in.
Yes.
Right.
The lesson I learned from you there is, if you are one of those fish trying to go get that house, don't go alone, because this market is still, and we talked about that this morning in the mastermind a little bit, that sign calls are on the rise because buyers are almost like, I've got to do anything I can, so I want to do anything I can. Find that trusted person that you can work with that truly knows your best interest. Because you're a buyer, you are emotional, and you need someone who's got objectivity by your side to keep you from making that emotional decision. Zahide,
I was going to say, Rick, I also think you need somebody by your side that is an expert in that business to tell you and share with you how to make your offer be more winnable, and find different programs that might help you to get loans. We touched on that today too. So you really, to go it alone, no, never ever.
Good luck.
Do it, and especially now.
Well, with 20 offers and 30 offers, there's one winner, and there's everyone else who said, sorry, you didn't get the house, you're back to the drawing board.
Right.
And the winning offers are not always the highest offers. There's other terms, there's relationships with trusted lenders who are trusted, realtors who are trusted. Relationships matter, perhaps now more than ever.
Yes.
100%.
And you know what else is different, Rick? So previously, I could meet with somebody, let's say in January, and they say, okay, Zahide, I want to go ahead and purchase a house, in the summertime. And then I would say something like, okay, well, you know what, if you want to purchase in June, then why don't we get together in May? Right? And that's not the case anymore, guys.
And it used to be, when you're flying in, great. I'll block off Thursday afternoon. We'll go see 7 houses. We'll decide Thursday night, and you'll have a house by Friday.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Not anymore.
All right, so Zahide, you've got the market pulse. Now, if you're listening to this after the fact, the market pulse is going to be attached to this email of this podcast, however you're looking at it. So keep your eyes on the road or keep working out, whatever you're doing. But if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, then let's take a look at what you're looking at here and just kind of walk me through this market pulse. I'm going to scroll down to the month that we're in, but as we look at this, walk through some of these numbers that really stand out to the two of you.
So if you remember, this time last year, April 20th, that's when we had pandemic mania, right? And so we went from listings at over 4,000 and we dropped drastically to the 2814 that you see there. And so here we are a year later.
So you're talking about under contract. Oh, here you go. New listings.
Yep.
So we were pacing of 3,200, 3,500, 39, 41. Here comes summer. Here comes spring. Hold the phone. What is this COVID thing? I'm not going to list my house, and all of a sudden, and look at and recall this time when I was doing this last year. Where's our temporarily off the market? I don't think it's on here right now.
No.
The TOM spiked way up because even people who were on the market said, I don't want people walking through my house. Take me off the market until we get clarity. So great observation there of this massive drop from new listings. Okay, keep going.
Right. So now we come to this year, April of 21.
Yep.
And we are back, sort of, right? Sort of. At the end of the day, it looks like we may be back, but the crazy thing that we're looking at right now is the months of inventory. And I don't know if it's on this page actually.
It's not, but we're going to get to it. So we'll touch on there. Yeah. What I like about what you're going at is interest rate used to be the conversation. Wow, interest. Now it's just kind of like, oh, cool. It's under 3%. Yeah. What else is new, right? So, by the way, if you have not refinanced and you're over 4%, call a professional and find out if it makes sense to you. I've had 3 calls this week from clients of going, should I do it? And I encourage them, get an amortization schedule. If you're going to be there for 4 or 5 years, figure out your break even. And this could be a whole different episode, but when it's a zero money refinance, just know that they are charging you money. You're just rolling into your loan, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
Inventory is 2,600. I want you to remember this, 2,600 homes on the market, and sold last month was 4,008 or 81. Now, what's interesting, I don't know if you guys knew this, looking at March 2021, in the history of the market pulse of about 20 years, where do you think this ranked in terms of units sold in 1 month in the last 20 years? 4,200 homes. Want to take a guess?
Number one.
Number one. In the history of the market pulse, never have we sold more than 4,200 homes in that month. I want to also ask you, in the history of the market pulse at 2,800, where does that rank in terms of inventory?
I'm going to bet the lowest we've ever had.
Yeah.
It ranked number 1, which means we are now at a new historic all-time low of inventory.
Yeah.
And we're in May. Yeah.
We've got less than a month. We've got 3 weeks of inventory.
3 weeks, 20 days of inventory. I call this musical chairs. And in musical chairs, if the 3 of us are playing musical chairs, that represents us being 3 buyers, right? And if we had 6 months of inventory, then we'd have 18 chairs to look at for us 3 buyers. Everyone out there follows and be like, you know what? I'm going to make you an offer on this chair. But oh, I don't like this chair. It's not comfortable. And we get to play Goldilocks and switch chairs.
Right.
Well, now with 3 weeks, there's 3 of us who are looking for chairs, but there's only 2 chairs. And now I'm going, I want this chair. I will pay you more money for this chair, and I will punch Debbie in the face to get this chair. Debbie won't punch you in the face. We will play nice, but that is how the inventory is playing a fact. It's just a massive game of musical chairs. And let's go to months of inventory and even look at units of inventory. Look where we were. Oh, you can't see it. Look where we were, and I've got it up on the screen here. Just May of last year was our 12-month high, just shy of 8,000. And we are trending up. And we had 3.5 months of inventory, which seems like, can you imagine if we had 8,000 homes? If all of a sudden 5,500 homes appeared?
Right.
That was just a year ago, right?
That's crazy.
And now look at this going down. We had that massive inventory go drop because of COVID, yet it never quite recovered with that inventory. And I don't know if it's a COVID-related thing or a building lag or materials to build is so slow. I mean, there's a whole different gamut. And we went even further here this year. And this year's when I felt this pressure. In December, we weren't in the wild, wild west of real estate.
Right.
Look what happened January. It just dropped and dropped. Thankfully, we flattened for the first month in a long time. Right here in the bottom right, we flattened to at least stay above 2 weeks of inventory. Let me share with you something here, viewers, consumers, Debbie and Zahide. And if you guys have any questions out there, we got a couple of viewers on there. Please feel free to jump in with wows or comments or thoughts or questions. But take a look, and I'm going to zoom this in. We just saw this is the market pulse, and the difference is, I don't know if you can see it very well. This is January 2011. So we're looking at almost 10 years ago. We just mentioned there were 2,600 homes for sale.
Mm-hmm.
In January 2011, there were 14,000.
Yes.
Wow.
I remember those days.
Yep.
7 times the amount. In January 2011, we had 7 times the amount of inventory. And this column right here of 1950 is the sales. So when we look at that, it is 7 months of inventory, 14,000 into 2,000.
Right.
We had 14 and 2,000 left every month. That left 12. But then new listings came on. Now we have 26, but 4,000 are being sold. The new listings that are coming on are getting off before they even get to do anything.
Yeah.
They're listed for hours and days. And when I see postings on social media that says we had multiple offers in just 3 days, my thought is, well, what took you so long?
Right.
It's like it's no longer do we brag about multiple offers in 3 days above list price.
Right.
It's more of, and Debbie and I talked about this, of we held this contract together and we overcame a low appraisal by $35,000 and both parties still feel like they won.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
This is our job.
Right. Right. And the danger there for sellers is that I do believe, and no offense to sellers, but I feel that they think that just getting a contract is the job. And it's not the only thing that real estate agents do. And so they go, oh, well, if I'm going to get, an offer that fast, then what do I need an agent for?
And this is a conversation I have with sellers, and I remind them that today, sure, that might be the easy part, but my job and all the work I do behind the scenes, it happens from the time we get that offer and we get to closing and they get their checks.
Even before so.
Right?
I mean, even before
Even before so.
Yeah.
But
you work hard.
As agents, we really don't do a good job of explaining to our buyers and sellers everything we do.
Yeah.
Because we just take care of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You handle it.
So you handle it, exactly.
And a lot of it is all the moving parts. All right, I've got another 2011 throwback for you here. It's a little bit blurry. I did the best I could to get it up here, but I'm going to tell you what you're looking at. So before we looked at the January 2011, which is actually the furthest right over here, we said 14,000 homes. And everyone went, whoa, 14,000. Look what it was in January of 2009. 25,000.
Yes. When all those REOs hit and short sales. Yeah. Oh, yes. That was a terrible time for sellers.
I bring that up, and we had the mastermind this morning, and we had Jim O'Reilly, who does construction, and he was building, and he gave Atlanta market stats, so that's where he was at the time. But what I love is he said the market started shifting not when the floor fell out in 2010 or 9. It started in 2006. And in 2006, there were 20 months of inventory. And although prices went up in 2004, 2005, and 2006, like it feels now to the average consumer, that average consumer who got burnt in 2005 is now going, well, I'm gonna wise up and wait for that 2010 market to come around. Right. The difference is when it was happening in 2005 and 2006, 15 years ago, there was 20 months of inventory. And when it's happening now, there's 20 days. We've had the cliche of it's a great time to buy and a great time to sell. Unpack that for me.
I still think it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
For a buyer, okay, you have all this competition. You've got to bring in your best game. And even with your best game, you might not be the winner the first time or the second or the third, but you will be the winner. You've got great interest rates.
Right.
So it's a great time for a buyer. And for a seller, you know what? Those people that bought at the height of the market back in 2006 and 2007, they've recouped their losses, right? When the market tanked, literally, and that was that really the lending, how people got loans, what, how they qualified, all of that caused and played a big role in what happened after that. But those people that took big losses but stayed in their homes, they've recuperated plus some.
Yep, they're back, baby.
you know?
What I love, and last week I kicked off a hold series. So in between these shows, I'm walking through. It's almost like a book club of going through the hold book, and the foreword written by Gary Keller is very much cash flow is king. And when he buys a house, his first house, it cash flowed, and then the market tanked. But even when the market tanked and his house was half the value it was, it's only half the value if you cash the check.
Exactly.
Right.
When it's half the value, you don't sell. As long as it's cash flowing, you're not losing. Ride the storm. And that's what Debbie just said of going, if you could have held on to a cash flowing asset back in the Great Recession, then you've already recovered, you've already recouped. So great time to buy. You're going, yes, it's a great time to buy. It's not easy time to buy, but it is great. And I will argue and be on your side there, because I'm going, what are your options to not buy and buy next year at the 12% higher price point with an interest rate that's only going to go up, right? It might dip another quarter and fluctuate. At the end of the day, 2.5 to 3, that's pretty much as low as they can go. Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to age myself. Our very first home that my husband and I bought, it was VA, and I'm telling you, it was 17% interest. And we didn't blink an eye because it was a home for us, you know, to make babies in and raise a family. So that's the new normal. And, you know, when people buy now, they have the new normal, because in 30 years, someone will say, please, when I bought my first house, I was playing Hunger Games musical chairs.
Right.
You should be so grateful you've got 20 months of inventory, because I put in 19 offers and had to give up. Remember, you used to have a brother, but we had to give him up to buy this house.
Right.
Yeah. Great time to sell. Obviously, we know that we're at all-time highs, yet we do have some sellers that are on the fence of going, I think I'm going to ride this storm out. I mean, what's going to make this market chill out?
Well,
we don't know when it's going to happen, but what's going to make it happen? I just froze on you. I'll get back to you.
You did.
Yep.
I personally, I do believe at some point we're going to have a ceiling as far as how high prices will go. I don't know that we're going to chill out in my lifetime of real estate, because it's supply and demand. And unless a lot of people that live in Florida and the greater Orlando area decide, you know what, I don't want to live here anymore, I want to go move where it's cold. How about that? Is it really going to happen?
Never.
Exactly.
Never.
I just don't feel like this is going to change. I think that eventually we'll have a little more inventory come on because there will be some people that will gravitate toward the mountain areas of Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. You will have that. But to see a mass exodus, which is what it would take, no, not happening. We've got more people moving from up north to here.
My goodness,
We have great properties. We have low taxes.
A lot of new construction coming on board. You know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening in Central Florida.
And even the new construction, when it comes on board, it's honest, in my opinion, it's not going to make a dent as far as opening up a whole bunch of inventory.
And let's face it, Debbie, at the end of the day, values are going to continue to rise. They're going up.
Yes,
it might be slower, it might be faster, but it's
Right.
always going to increase. So it's still a great time to buy, fantastic time to sell. And I know that we lost Rick, but we can just keep talking
I
about
know. How about that? So here's, our words, right?
Yeah.
You, whether you're a buyer or a seller, whatever you are, you find yourself a really good quality agent that has a great company to back them up and has a stellar reputation amongst the other agents that they work with, because you need that. You need that, especially for a buyer.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that too, because one of the things that I'm seeing as well is that we've got a lot of brand new agents coming on the market because they're thinking it's, oh my gosh, we've got to go ahead and jump into this business suddenly. And the one thing that is clear is that real estate agents need education. You want a real estate agent that is continuously being educated on the market, can help you navigate a market like this, and is continuing to educate you on how to navigate it. Right, Rick?
I'm back. I heard every word. Thank you for keeping the ship moving forward. It's funny you mentioned real estate agents. Debbie and I, we had a mastermind this morning. We had about 25 people in the room, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. doing exactly this, because iron sharpens iron. We all have unique circumstances that are helping others' unique circumstances. We're thinking out of the box. Realtors, if you're listening to this, get in a networking group, get in a mastermind group.
Yes.
Learn from each other, from that peer partnership, because iron really does sharpen iron. However you've got to do it, your own brokerage or the board or whatever group you can do. Consumers out there who are interviewing agents, make one of your interview questions of going, what are you doing to stay on top and ahead of this market? When you give me a resume, I've been licensed for 10 to 15 years, that doesn't mean anything, because 10 to 15 months is a completely different market, right?
Right.
It's what are you doing now to stay on top? And I think it's so important there. I was looking at the market pulse from 2011. Zahide, you might know this off the top of your head, and I have an idea, but how many licensed realtors are there in the board right now?
You know, I had a feeling you were going to ask me that, and I failed to grab that information. But we've gotten more real estate agents licensed in the state of Florida than anywhere else in the nation.
The last number I heard is 19,200.
Yeah, I was going to say we're
even
back
higher
into
than that.
the.
Yeah.
19,000, let's call it 20,000 agents, 4,000 being sold every month, homes, which means 16,000 agents, if every agent's only selling one, but we had 5 closings this month, so not every agent's selling one.
Right.
And 2,600 homes for sale. In 2011, the board is 8,500 agents.
That's insane.
Well, and I tell you, and that's only because of when the market tanked, right? Prior to that, in 2006 and 7, we were at 15,000 agents.
Yes, so true.
So we lost almost half.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, I hate to say this, and I will though, is that, you know, that wasn't such a bad thing, because you have agents that are not continuously being educated on how to work with buyers and sellers in different markets and what programs are available out there. Then maybe they shouldn't be, you know, if they can't self-educate or take the time and the desire to do that. It's not bad to be weeded out.
I love that you just talk about that as well, because when I came into real estate, I was learning from the best and the brightest. Everybody around me was walking around like, this'll change. It's okay. We've shifted before. It's fine. You know, and they just embraced me, and they were just so amazing to me as a brand new real estate agent, and I accelerated very quickly as a result.
I still remember my very first year in real estate when I joined the office. Javier Grandin, he's in Georgia now, but he had a file, and he called it Debbie's Helpful Hints. And when he would find things that would help me, he would make a copy and lay it in this file for me to grab. And I was like so touched that someone would take the time, you know, to think of me and know that I needed help, especially with computers. Not much has changed, but you know. And,
I love that. It's get a partnership. We mentioned get a network, mentor somebody, right? And mentee. If I'm right here, I need to be looking upward and learning, and looking downward and giving, and find that aspect. All right, we're on the end of the show here. If we were to summarize this, and I'm going to get your guys' final thoughts or extra, because whoever's going to listen to this, we're going to share it with our database. It's going to be out in the podcast. Agents might be looking at it. What is just some of your final thoughts when we talk about this is the real estate by the numbers, May 2021? How's the market? Give me a pretty nice little bow on what we've talked about here today.
You want to go first?
Well, my first thought is that at the end of the day, and this is, I think, more so to real estate agents out there in the market, you know, we will absorb whatever it is that we hear, right? And so you hear sellers and buyers talking about, oh my goodness, I'm hearing that the market is so crazy. And the right answer and the true answer is that as a real estate agent, it's our job as professionals to learn how to participate in this market. It's a market, just like any other market. Learn how to participate in it so that you can win for your buyers and your sellers. And that's the bottom line.
And for me, a couple of things. Number one, relationships matter. relationships with your buyers and your sellers, and relationships with each other as professionals. That matters. And the ability to close, meaning the ability, what you're bringing to the table as a listing agent to your seller is the in between the line, in between the dots. The ability to take that contract and whatever occurs during that time period to closing, you are solution based, you're solution minded,
Yes.
and this is your job, to provide solutions and bring it to closing.
I love that. It's landing the plane, right? We think about
Yes.
commercial
Yes.
airlines now. They will likely fly themselves on autopilot until you need someone who's skilled. Then you're going, I need to make sure I got a pilot in there who knows what they're doing. But I imagine many planes can fly themselves right now, except when storm comes, turbulence, birds, reroute, and you're like, ooh, I need someone who's been here before, who knows to navigate.
Right.
You know, coming through to my final thoughts as we wrap this up, if you are going, how's the market? Should I buy? Should I sell? How can I represent my buyers and sellers better? Keep your emotion and check it in between the lines. Do not make emotional decisions about the market. I feel like the market's going to crash. Why? Because it just is due. Well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Show me the proof.
We've got logic, and logic says supply and demand. And we've never had more demand than we have now in the history of at least us tracking these numbers.
Right.
And until the supply of inventory goes up, and even with all the pre-foreclosure, which is about 3,500 pre-foreclosure in Central Florida, 3,500. Wow. That means we're at 2 months of inventory. We're still in a seller's market.
Right.
If every one of them hit. So,
And they won't.
and they're not going to, because a lot of that is through the forbearance. They're going to figure out how to, remodify their loan structure, and they've gotten picked up from their furlough and everything else out there. So, ladies, thank you very much. It's been absolute pleasure learning and chatting and discussing. And if you like what you heard today, then go ahead and bookmark this, like or subscribe to whatever you're doing, and we'll see you every Wednesday at 12:15 and 12:45 to talk about real estate. We're going to continue next week talking about the hold book and how you can still buy great investments in this market and how to do it. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care. Talk soon.